It's fun to be smart. And the guy next to me was very smart last Sunday. Hi, everybody. Tom Quigley sitting next to the smart guy, the track announcer here at Santa Anita Park, Mr. Frank Miramati. Frank, congratulations on a very stellar handicapping job last Sunday.
Seems like 4 years ago.
It sure does, doesn't it?
I mean, seriously, anyone who bet Andy Reid and had to stare at that was a bad flash.
Well, we didn't even get to that. I was talking more about your horses before we got to race 5 in Bezos. I mean, he imploded a lot of people, didn't he?
I mean, seriously, he deserved an uppercut call at about the 3/16. So I refrained.
What were you thinking? What were you thinking?
Wow. I mean, I had some other thoughts, but they were.
Sure.
That was seriously, man. That might be one of the biggest hype jobs of all time.
And Peter Urton's winner was obviously very impressive.
Very
Earned
nice.
a 91 buyer speed figure. You were.
I think Joel Rosario needed a masseuse after the race, looking back 3 different times. Might have had some kinks in the neck after all that, but a very athletic horse and a very exciting prospect. Someone I know sent me a ticket, $100 at 175 to 1 on that horse.
On Bezos or the Peter?
The winner.
Okay.
What I was wondering is like, okay, well, did you have 20 to 1 today? I mean, if you had this horse weeks ago based on something.
Sure hope so.
I mean, seriously, you should have had some 20 to 1 right there.
Didn't send you any.
That horse did look amazing on the racetrack. In fact, a few people that had texted me, I said, maybe you put the 9 underneath. I never suggested anything to the contrary. But look, that's why it's horse racing. And I just haven't gotten a report like what happened. Did he need the race?
Very quiet, isn't it?
It's very quiet from Team Bezos. Like I said, you move on and you turn the page.
Well, you moved on in a big way with the Super Bowl. You mentioned Andy Reid, and for at least a couple of days that I can recall, you were big on Andy Reid being outcoached and Patrick Mahomes having the fear of God, a look in his eyes, and kind of played out that way. I mean, it really wasn't much of a game, and Tampa Brady and Tom Brady moved on and won the Super Bowl very impressively, and Tom had a few cocktails on the boat the other day.
He did. I've never liked Tom Brady, but I've really grown to appreciate his absolute mastery of everything, and I actually enjoyed his last couple of victories, which is really weird because I've been rooting against him for a long time, and needless to say, it hasn't worked out too well for me. But I was a Peyton Manning fan, so therefore you can never be on. There's just certain things. You're a Cowboy fan. There'd be no Redskins in my life, no Washington football team in my life from growing up. And it's just the way it is. If you're in the Bay Area, you like the Raiders, you don't like the 49ers, and vice versa. So good for them. The best team won, and they really came together, and it just goes to show that they looked so bad in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, they really did. I'm like,
barely a 500 team. Yeah.
Probably some harsher words than that. And then all of a sudden, when they get it together, get a focused team, and think about what it must be for the young players to learn from a guy like him. It's kind of like you look at the Jockey car. Look at when Shoemaker was riding here.
Sure. What
the young people that were, kind of gravitating toward him to find out what is it about his magic.
Gary Stevens as an example.
Of course.
Actually arrived from the state of Idaho.
Yeah, and he was paying attention. I mean, there was great opportunities. Learn from a guy like Lafitte Pink Eye. What is it other than your strength?
Yeah.
How are you always in the right spot? How do you win those close decisions? How do you get the most out of your horse? And it's just, great athletes are able to mentor others along the way, and we've seen so much of it here at Santa Anita Park.
And we say that winners win, and certainly it's true in horse racing. It's true in sports as well. It's true in life. It's true in business, right? Winners win.
Yes, you try to wake up 3% connections. Chances are you're going to be shredding your tickets for a long time until your next win. It's just the harsh truth, and it's kind of like one of the things we've talked about several times is a lot of jockeys that are really good end up on favored horses. So wow, he's riding the favorite. Well, earn that spot, and then you get an opportunity because. I often find that with sometimes highly regarded horses coming up early in their career, they get certain jockeys, and those jockeys are working them. And it's just, look, in the end, victory and defeat is such a small, fine line that you want to be on the right side of it. And so you're better off as a trainer or an owner to get the best possible person to navigate your horse into the winner's circle.
We've used the words jockey and Baffert already in the first few minutes of the seminar, and there was big news this week in the jockey agent news. Flavien Prat decided to change agents, and Brad Pegram is now his new agent. Derek Lawson is out. Brad Pegram, of course, part of the famous Pegram family that has a very close relationship with Mr. Baffert. Well bred, exactly. And Brad will continue to represent Mike Smith, but Drayden Van Dyke was the odd man out. But yesterday the news broke. Another person that we've already mentioned, Gary Stevens, picked up Drayden's book. So
Gary Stevens.
Yeah, Gary Stevens.
I didn't see that news. That's good.
Yeah,
good for Gary.
APA.
Gary knows his way around that.
He sure does.
He knows how to find a trainer.
And let's face it, Gary wrote a lot for Tom Proctor. And when Tom Proctor was training out here, he brought Drayden out here. And kind of Gary and Drayden have had a long-standing.
Gary likes Drayden a lot. And that's a big, look, that's a guy that Drayden can learn a lot from. And they share things and stories. And believe me, we both know Gary Stevens wants to climb aboard some of these horses right now, too. So hopefully he can let some of his greatness pass. And Drayton's a very, very talented rider. He wouldn't be in the spot he was been with Bob Baffert over these years and some other trainers unless he could do the job. And we've seen him win for other connections, and you just got to get hot. That's the whole thing. It's like now it's such a competitive colony, and with less race days. I think Art Wilson was talking about that, one of our seminar viewers, talking about how, look, it becomes, in the end, I think you and I on the way out of here, I know I talked to somebody recently, we were talking about some of these jockeys in the top 4 or 5 are going to get frustrated when they see other people winning. You know, let's face it, they all want to win them all, right? So
and it's hard to stay on top of the standings for 12 months a year. This is a year-round sport, and you just think about the cycles of life.
Yes.
You know, things come and go in your life, and it's just hard to stay at the top. And certainly, I think we've kind of separated who the top 4 jockeys are currently at the meet: Rispoli, Rosario, Flavian, and Abel Cedillo. But it doesn't mean that the guys who are 5th and 6th couldn't basically have a good couple of months and all of a sudden by the end of the meet be right there at the top of the jockey standing. So like you said,
Juan Hernandez would like to tap you on the shoulder.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Come on, APA.
That's what I'm trying to say. He'd like to say, really, buddy? Well, that's the thing, right? He didn't win yet. All of a sudden, like, you get Pratt winning 3 yesterday. And look, these guys are very competitive. But when you look at I think America's Turf Authority generally will give you a little list on page 2. Nice page.
Nationwide.
Yeah, to let you know how they're doing financially. I'm not crying for any one of these guys that are in the top 5 over here. They're doing just fine. They're stacked up, and they're doing a great job. But I like this because I think that as a fan, sometimes, you know, you just aren't happy with a certain ride. It just happens every day. Look, mistakes happen in every sport, every situation. Right now, these jockeys that are fighting for everything right now, I just think it makes it, I like it. It almost makes them just, not that it's going to change the way they ride, but it makes it more obvious when things are not going right. Everyone needs to be at the top of their game with no room for error whatsoever. There's no cruise jobs going on in the jockey standing.
And sometimes those horses, I believe, can feel that pressure as well. You know, Shoemaker has talked about that, how part of his success is because he did so little communication with the horse. He was obviously a very talented rider, but he just basically let the horse run his race and put him in the perfect position, a lot like what Flavian does. They don't fight with the horses. They basically are just a passenger. And I think sometimes the riders who are trying a little bit harder can be a bit aggressive. Horses can feel that. They sense some tension, and all of a sudden they call it a day and pack it in. It's nobody's fault. It's just life.
When you're in a zone, you're in a zone, and it's the same thing. Trevor Denman told me, and I've said it numerous times on our seminars, that oftentimes you'll see the same jockey who won the feature race win the last race of the day right afterward. If, you know, nowadays the features are sometimes earlier in the day, but nevertheless, that's a positive energy, and there's a relationship between horse and rider. Now, can a jockey feeling good make some horse run 15 lengths faster? I don't think so. I mean, that's like saying, you know, am I going to be breaking any speed records going a mile? Let's hope I can get a half a mile.
Beat Usain Bolt in the 100-yard dash.
It's not happening anytime soon. But it's important to be in the right frame of mind. If you're not feeling well, if you have issues, and you're going to work, there's a chance you're not going to be at your best. It's the same thing with the post parade, and it's why I talk so much about the difference between this form of wagering and other forms of wagering. You can't get into the huddle or in the tunnel before a football game to see if Andy Reid's in a complete daze based on what happened with his son, or if he's depressed going into a Super Bowl. But with the horses, you can watch them on the track, and we have our announcers now, you know, right at the gate. Zoe and Millie have been spending time right at the gate. Michelle obviously spends a lot of time with horses. These are people that are going to be able to give you great insight as to what they look like. The best turned out horse, chances are the best turned out horse is going to run their best possible race. Is it good enough? You don't know. But you want a horse on their A game. And one of the horses I liked today was Washi last time and won anyway. And those are the things that are worth pointing out.
Hopefully we're going to have some positive energy over the next 30 minutes. We're going to find out who that Washi horse is. Before we do any of that, let's get the early program changes from Mr. Miramati.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Santa Anita Park. The track is fast, the turf is firm, the rail on the turf at 0 feet. Here are the early changes. First race starts with the 50-cent early pick 5, scratch number 2, premium on Saturday. Note that number 9, Supersonic Flyer, the jockey is Edwin Maldonado. Scratch number 14, Bellows Music. 13 will run and does retain the services of Abel Cedillo. Scratch numbers 2 and 14 out of the first. Second race, beginning of the early pick 4. No changes. No changes in the third. The fourth race begins the Rainbow Pick 6 jackpot. It starts at $52,676. No scratches or jockey changes. In the fifth, the start of the 50-cent late pick 5. No scratches or jockey changes. In the sixth race, beginning of the late pick 4, number 8, See Through It, 2 pounds over. Turning to race 7, no changes. Eighth race, the grade 2 Santa Monica, scratch 2, Miss Stormy D. Scratch 10, Pharaoh's Heart. And scratch 12, Bohemian Bourbon. 2, 10, and 12 are out of the 8th. In the ninth race, scratch 3, Mind the Gap, 4, 5-Star Lynch, and 6, King Theo. 3, 4, and 6 are out. Don't forget about the Golden Hour wagers. The Golden Hour pick 4 starts with the 8th race. The Golden Hour double starts with the 9th. Enjoy your day watching the action from Santa Anita Park. Post time for the opener in 58 minutes. We go back now to Quigley's Corner for a look at today's card.
Welcome back. We're talking horses with track announcer Frank Mirmati. Frank, I know you did the work, and you know that I did the work because today, Beat the Host, I'm the host at expressbet.com.
Well, how does that work? I read about Beat the Host. So I'm sure that people don't know how they get involved, what it's all about.
So here's what you do. You go to expressbet.com for a minimal amount of money. You basically go head-to-head with me. I choose the races. You don't find out who I like in that race until after they break from the gate. And basically, it's just a showdown in terms of who has the highest mutual total at the end of the 10 races. I chose 6 races from Santa Anita, 4 races from Gulfstream Park. The very first race for the Beat the Host competition today is race number 1 here at Santa Anita, which is 12:30 p.m. first post. So it's just a lot of fun, bragging rights, talk trash, whatever. And so, if you're interested, like I said, a very, very small investment. Whatever you win is yours to keep. And we just go head-to-head and have some fun with it.
Nice. And are you pretty decent at this over the years? Do people run you over? Do you trample them? What's some insight on how to beat you?
Play price.
Okay.
There's no chalk in any of my races, and so that's the reason why I chose the races, is because I feel that the races where I chose, the races that I chose, I felt like the favorite was vulnerable.
Are you going to hint a little bit, like during
I
the
might. I'm debating because I know a lot of people are probably watching, trying to get a little glimmer into seeing my hand before I actually have to show it. But I do like some prices today, including in race number 1. So I'm interested to see who you like.
I know who you like. I'm going to tell you. If I guess,
you got no shot. I'll give you 2 shots, and you got no shot.
I got 1 shot. I'm going to ask you one question.
Yeah.
If I'm right, you got to cough it up.
100%. But
number 4. You're game with number 4.
No shot.
All right.
Yeah. So anyway, we kick things off in race number 1 with the popular 50-cent early pick 5.
If I have a second choice, I got to go to the rail.
No shot.
Oh, wow.
The rail is dead this meet, like 4 for 55. And
you got no shot. I'm going to tell you in advance right now.
Half to tribal it,
those
the
are the
whole
2
9 yards, good workouts, no shot. It's 7-1 on the board.
All right.
Let me finish the intro. 50-cent early pick 5. Start on the turf course. Rails at 0 feet. Maiden special weight Calbred. 3-year-old filly sprinting 6 furlongs on the turf course. 2 scratches off the program, scratch 2 and 14. That means one of the also eligibles, number 13, is in. And the morning line favorite in the current betting choice at 6-5 is number 7, Big Claire. 6-5 right now, as I mentioned, Frank, on the board. Give us a winner, even though you don't have it.
I got the chalk. I'm going to take the chalk. I'm sick with that price, but it's a warm and fuzzy feeling. Like you see 6-5, and you're like, wow, that's a nightmare.
In a big field? Come on,
Then
man.
you say, like, you know what? Someone put in, it's called the parking place. They pulled in, they parked, and now they're just sitting and waiting for it to rise up to a regular price. Big Claire ran well in her debut. There was a lot of hype about Big Claire going into that debut. The winner of that race was Disco Fever, who on paper made no sense, stepping up, I think, out of a maiden claimer into that race on the dirt and got bet and jogged. When I say got bet under her morning line. Came back yesterday, broke dead last, and still aired him out. Very nice win yesterday. I gave her a little bit of prop action toward the end because when she broke like that, I'm like, good luck. How many times do they break slow, rush up, and cave in? Not everyone's Chinook pass out there.
She has talent.
She has talent. She likes the turf. But anyway, she won pretty easily. And Big Claire made a nice little move around the turn where I thought she was going to get interested, but she didn't. But horses improved so dramatically from start 1 to start 2. I was hoping to get 2-1 on her. 6-5 is very aggressive. My second pick is the one Big Summer, another daughter of Mr. Big, who I expect to have a big debut, a big opener today. Big Summer out of a Seized Tizzy mare who won 6 of 12 starts and ran on the turf and did okay. 3 starts, a win and a second on the grass. Related to Tribalist and Ultimate Bango is Big Summer, and also Ultimate High. I remembered that we had been talking about these 2 siblings previously, and that was when Ultimate High debuted and ran second in the debut. So Big Summer, I think, is interesting from the inside. I went 7-1. My buddy Pick 6 Paul couldn't stop. I had to get him off the phone. He was trying
Who do you like? I want to know who
loves
he likes.
the 4. He said the 4 this, the 4 that, through head, off slow. So I think he usually overreacts to those kind of things. But nevertheless, if you think about it, she was only beaten a length and 3/4 by the aforementioned Big Claire. So perhaps Sunshine Babe is a long shot. I didn't buy into that hype. I turned in my picks. I don't listen to anyone or anything before I turn in all my picks.
I'll give you a hint. Take a look at the replay for number 4, Sunshine Babe. I think Pick 6 Paul might be onto something. You also talked about breeding number 7, Big Claire, as I have to Sadie Bluegrass, who we've seen running around here lately. And number 8, another Eddie, is also related to an Eddie Surprise from the Redham Racing Limited Liability Corporation production. Race number 2, small field of 5.
You say you're giving me a hint. You said earlier no for it. Are you?
I'm keeping you on your toes.
Are we playing poker here?
Yeah,
or
I'm keeping you on your toes.
So you could theoretically have the 4?
It'll be disclosed at 12:30 p.m.
All right, so then that way, all right. So we're going to take it with a grain of salt. Bring out the Morton salt shaker.
Race number 2, field of 5, sprinting 6.5 furlongs on the main track. Calbreds, non-winners of 1 other than, and it also begins the 50-cent early pick 4. Karen Headley has 2 runners in here, including the heavy favorite, 2-5 on number 4, Curry. Certainly towers over this field from a buyer speed figure standpoint. Is he going to win the race?
He should. That was a vicious L if you were involved at 9-5 last time. I can tell you that much. It was not pretty in the final strides there as this horse got nailed by Colt Fiction. Colt Fiction came back and didn't do much running. I believe that was on the grass on the outside, if I am remembering that accurately. He was bowing out quickly, but I don't know if that was just a grass issue.
Bill Spar a few weekends ago.
Yeah, it was
I think
like
last
12
weekend.
or 13 horse or something.
Correct.
Chestnut on the outside. The 2, I will not. I was very tempted to pick this horse, and I wanted to pick this horse. And this horse comes out of a race where 2 seminar winners came back to win. How's that? El Diablo Rojo and Desmond Doss, both given out right here at this chair. I will not, trying to fit that
It's fun
pattern.
to be smart, isn't it?
It's fun to be right, let's be honest. Number
Gotta
2.
be smart in order to be right.
Hopefully. I think I will. This should be a 2-horse race. If Curry, look, here's the thing. Curry blew a lead. I mean, no matter what you want to say at the end of that thing, Curry got run over when he shouldn't have. And so the question is, do you want to take 2-5 or lower on him? The answer is probably yes. Lightly raced son of Cyclotron. It's probably 4-2 to the hoop. And you might get like 2-1 on that exact, and I think that's very fair. What else could it possibly be on paper?
Race number 3, we're back on the turf course. This time 2 turns, 1 mile is the distance. 3-year-old maiden claimers in for a $50,000 tag. Take note, number 3, Capper, is a first-time gelding. Excuse me, the morning line favorite from the Ryan Hansen barn. Montpellier, 9-5 on the morning line. No Lasix for Montpellier. There was some confusion last time whether he was on Lasix or not. He was not, and he's also not going to be on Lasix today. Give us your thoughts on race 3.
I can't go to Montpelier again. I've already taken him twice, and it has not been a productive thing. He did steady a little at the end there, but he hugged the rail the whole way. He could have been closer. He could have won, but he didn't. Here's the thing. My first instinct on this race, when I looked at it on paper, I drew a line right. By the way, last week I drew a line right through a horse, and that horse galloped home for Horonis Racing. So don't take these things too seriously.
Right.
But I was about to draw a line right through Labor Union when I looked at his past performances. And then when I watched it's so funny, I couldn't remember who Goldini was. As soon as the gate appeared,
right.
Boom, I'm like, oh, that was that 10-horse Golden Sense that was well spotted out of the productive race.
Yes.
And so therefore, I think Labor Union is going to be tough. And in fact, I think Labor Union is better than Montpelier. But in the end, I'm not enamored with that race altogether, even though he was only beaten a length and a half and was certainly fighting after the wire. I'm going to try Capper. And the reason I'm going to try Capper, I'll tell you the only reason I almost didn't pick him is because he was 80-1 in that Petruccio race. Now, we know that Peter Urton isn't known for maiden first-time starters, et cetera, but 80-1 for these connections related to Sweet and Cheeky out of the mare she's Cheeky. I'm just taking a flyer here and saying, okay, if this horse didn't run a jump, I mean, he did nothing, 0.0 in his debut, and he got a 52 buyer, whereas Labor Union ran a pretty good race and got a 65 buyer. I think I'll just try to get a better price and hope that perhaps that whole Labor Union race isn't the answer to your question. So I went 3-2, but I definitely lean to the 2 over Montpelier.
A question for you, Frank. Montpelier last time I was ridden by Flavien Prat. Now Prat jumps ship and rides your top selection, Capper. Do you read anything into that?
You got to ask the agent in that situation. I'm just kidding. I don't know what you got to do in that case. I have no idea. But it's Peter Urton. They're winning races. Wasn't Prat on that horse that won by about 20 lengths for them last week? I don't remember. There was a maiden that won by 14 lengths. I don't remember if that was Cedillo or Prat or who it was. But anyway, at the end of the day, they're looking for the winner. And that could be Ryan Hansen saying, look, it didn't work. We went Ricky Gonzalez, Manny Franco, Flavien Prat. You never know what the story is with these things. I just think like Montpelier, he hugged the rail the whole way. He did lack a little bit of room, and at the end he was just kind of steadying, and Labor Union still fended him off. So I'm just having a hard time going to him in this spot. I think there's more value, and that's why I think maybe you go to some other people.
3-2 in race number 3, so says Frank Miramai. Let's turn the page and look at race number 4. Begins our 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6 sequence. The 20-cent jackpot single ticket carrier. We're now up to $52,000 after the mandatory payout last Saturday, and we kick things off sprinting 6 furlongs in the main track. $10,000 is the claiming tag. A field of 8, and the morning line favorite trained once again by Ryan Hansen, number 4, Restoring Dreams, this time with Flavien. 2-1 on John White's morning line. Talk to us about race 4.
This is not my kind of horse. This is a monster drop-in class. And like, here's the thing. If you look at his form prior to last race, he was in solid form for a period of several races in a row. Getting the services of Flavien Prat is certainly a big positive here because it shows that, like, whatever the speech is that Ryan Hansen delivered, it was like, hey, man, we're dropping to win. We're trying to put these horses. We've tried to get as much information from Michelle Yu as possible. And she had told us once that the reason they dropped into a certain spot, they want to win. Look, it's competitive. But $10K for this horse? I mean, there's either going to be 8 claims in for him or people running for their life not to claim him, right? It makes sense.
It's all or nothing.
I'm throwing him right out.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I can't live with this. I'm going with the 3 baby Gronk. Never been a Gronkowski man, and still am not, even though he did as great as he did. That guy I can't live with.
You got to enjoy his videos a little bit.
He's pretty funny. He's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's a better dancer than me. I don't know about you.
I mean, hey, listen, they call me Dancing Frankie, so just
seriously,
oh,
light on your toes.
You would never believe the moves I can make. I'm going to the 3 baby Gronk for a little upset possibility in race 4, and the 6 DK's Crown joining the barn of Doug O'Neill. I'm very, very, very leery about Restoring Dreams, and I'm not a fan of Black Storm. I want you to know Pick 6 Paul loves Black Storm. For those of you who want, I always felt that the race he won that day was kind of a fluke, and if you've stayed away from him, you've been better off. But according to P6 Paul, he said he was on the wrong side of the track. I'll tell you the truth.
You're always telling us the truth.
Pick 6 Paul has been sending me this new thing now because he knows I don't want to hear the preach. I don't want to hear the speeches. I don't want to hear the this and the that. What he's sending me is horses that are clearly on or against the bias. And so, and I said to him, I gave him clearance for email alerts to come because he's got a good opinion. If you listen to him last Saturday, you would be paying for his services this week. It was coast to coast.
Well, and we're giving him homage because I remember he gave out Bob Sniper. You mentioned it in
He gave out Bob Sniper, and a friend of ours used Bob Sniper as a result. That same day, it was unbelievable. $30 winner at Oak Lawn. Because here's what he does. And I don't do it. I've always thought biases are overrated. And
he's not just some mope sitting on the street corner. He's a professional horse player.
All he cares about. He's been watching. He's more from. I put him up against almost anybody in some trivia and all that. He knows, and he knows that he's into like the track bias. What horse is inside, outside. I think that's so overrated that as a result of it, I don't pay any attention at all. Which is actually another mistake. You should pay some of it. There are certain things that are irrefutable, but. His point is there are horses that either overperform or underperform based upon where they were on certain days. And I like the fact that if 3 to 5 shots go wire to wire on the rail, he's not going to say it's a great rail day. But for the most part, I don't need the aggravation. Neither does anyone else. I'm going right to race 5, where he and I have a difference of opinion. This is the horse that was washy last time, and that's number 3. Highly Distorted is my selection in the 5th for Mike Pipey. Now, again, sometimes horses come out on the track and they just got a little bucket of water put on them. So I'm not here to decide what that moisture is. But this horse was wet. And, in fact, in the replay, if you watch, you'll see the moisture. And you'll also see the moisture on the heads of anyone who bet against her or him because he went wire to wire for the second.
At 11-1.
11-1, Jogola. He's a lightly raced 6-year-old. He's in solid form. Mike Pipey's done a good job with him. I think he's going to be tough right back in this spot. According to P6 Paul, who this is his last shout-out of the seminar, he said the rail on the turf early in the meet, no one could pass anyone and all that hype. So I said, really? I'll see you in the 5th. Come try to catch me. I'm going 3-7 in this race. Mystery Messenger could be dangerous late. This horse is honest and finishes with some interest. Vladimir Serin having a fairly good meet here. And, you know, Gould is obvious. Gould's 2 starts back was a very good and a decent performance. So I think you can go several ways here. I think you got to catch Highly Distorted to close.
The morning line favorite in race number 5 was number 6, Chaos Theory from the Ronus Racing Team Production. It sounds like you drew a line right through them as well.
Let me see about what I was thinking with him. Hembry, Chaos Theory got up that day at Del Mar. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this. When they claim him for 62, have some fun and come back for 62, I'll pass. And believe me, all they do is win races. So I don't find a strong angle against him. But you can't have them all. I mean, what am I, give you 4 horses out of 6?
And race number 5 also begins the 50-cent late pick 5. Race number 6 begins the 50-cent late pick 4. 5.5 furlongs in the main track. $32,000 of the claiming tag. Another full field of 10 here. Hats off again to the racing office for putting together a very good and competitive card, particularly later on in the card, both here up at Golden Gate, which comprises the Golden Hour pick 4 and the Golden Hour daily double, which we'll get to in a moment. But the morning line favorite here, one of your... I won't say favorites, but a horse you're very familiar with.
He beats me all the time. I never pick him.
Number 7, Captain Scotty. He follows you from coast to coast, Monmouth Park or Anita Park. He always shows up wherever you're at. Give us your thoughts on race.
He's not my kind of horse. These warriors for Peter Miller, I just don't know. I'm usually wrong one way or another, but I mean, he was game. That day he held off Horse Greedy was all right. And but he blew that lead against Lionite here, and that was the end of me and him. I don't know I'm sure I didn't pick him that day, but when you blow 3-length leads or 2.5-length leads late, I'm not going your way. I'm not going to Fratelli either. I think Fratelli's going to compromise him. Italiano's going to sit right off them and pounce. I like him. He ran against Posterize. Posterize ran well yesterday in defeat, I thought. And Italiano just seems getting a change to Umberto Rispoli here. A very strong finisher and excellent rider. And I'll tell you what, I have a long shot I like in here too. And it's interesting because Italiano, last time out, was ridden by Jessica Pfeiffer. Jessica Pfeiffer gets on See Through It for Brian Coroner in this race. Now, this is a very uncharacteristic meet for Brian Coroner with regard to the fact that he has not been visiting the winner's circle. But we know that Brian over the years is a very, very good trainer. And he's had some seconds and thirds. If they went the other way, all of a sudden he's 25%. See Through It is an interesting horse. Claimed for 16, jumps up here, gets Pfeiffer, has speed. This could be a race in which we see some sort of a long shot situation. I think this is the race to spread in today's 6th. If my top pick or second pick doesn't win, I'm trying to take stands against the other. Even Oil Can Knight, I like Oil Can Knight. I picked him and he won last time. But, I mean, what better scenario could he have gotten last time than that cozy outside draw? I think the 6th race could create some chaos and a nice price if Italiano does not win.
I'm with you in Express Bet Beat the Host contest. I am on Italiano in race number 6 here at Anita to kind of show my hand a little bit. But you make a very compelling case for number 8, Frank. See through it. I love the confident boost up in class for trainer Brian Corner. As you mentioned, he puts the bug girl up. He's definitely got speed, the son of Curlin to Mischief. Bullet workout over this track last time since being claimed. There are some very, very positive things, and more importantly, 15-1. That's a horse that could blow up the tote board and all the exotics involved that come through race number 6. Let's take a look at race number 7. Mile and an eighth on the turf course for Calbreds. Non-winners of one other than. If I didn't mention it before, the rails are at 0 feet. We've got a field of 9. Clayton Delaney, owned by Nick Alexander, trained by Phil D'Amato's the lukewarm 3-1 morning line favorite. Another good race here.
If Clayton Delaney wins, I rate this as the worst morning line favorite of the day. This is a very vulnerable horse. You're now going a mile and an eighth. Grayson, I love Grayson. I've made commercials for Grayson. I adore Grayson, everything about him. But going a mile and an eighth with a horse who was shifting all over the place and couldn't get by Offshore Affair last time out, this is my draw line special of the day. Bad chalk.
And you make a good point before you continue on. There is a huge difference between a mile turf race and a mile and an eighth. A lot of players, I think, underestimate that, but it is a huge difference.
I mean, here's the question. What about the speed scenario here? That's the, how long can Tiz Hot and Dusty hang around and try to mess with him? Clayton Delaney may get such an easy lead. And, Fly to Mars is a talented horse who beat him 2 starts back. And Offshore Affair would be very tough in here. But I just can't pick him. And here's the thing. Cedillo was really working on him. He was throwing his head around at 2 different parts of the race. To me, that's not a horse that's just going to sail home at 9 furlongs. I got to pass on him.
Who is going to sail home at 9 furlongs?
I'm going to go with a horse that when I was watching that Clayton Delaney thing, this One Fast Bro looked like a winner mid-stretch. He got beat a length in the end, but he finished up honestly, and he won well. And, Shelby Ruiz is having a phenomenal meet. Winners win. Ruben Fuentes from Limited Starters has been winning some races of late at some good prices. He picks up the mount here. I'm going to go with number 6. It's not like I love him, but I'm taking a stand against the 7. The other horses to consider in here are the 4 Carmelita's Man, which was a great ride from Tyler Bays last time. The horse was loaded and got up. He was in that same race and got beat a length and 3/4 that we just talked about with Offshore Affair holding on. But he won all 3 of the races surrounding it. The 5 Kakistocracy, if you remember, we walked out of here together at the end of the January 2nd card, and we saw Carling Haynes. I said, hey, Kakistocracy comes back for the former chairman tomorrow. And she didn't say one word about Offshore Affair, who held me right off. She let me go right down in flames. But she did hint that Kakistocracy might need that race. He's 8-1 on the morning line. And the other horse is Burnin' Turf. Burnin' Turf was very rank in the early stages of the One Fast Bro maiden victory 2 starts ago. Came back last time, was an obvious 6-5 winner that I tried to get cute and beat, and I, as a result, suffered with a bad selection in the race. But Burnin' Turf at 6-1 is certainly a horse to be reckoned with in this spot. I would say in this spot, if I was getting involved, I would use 4, 5, 6, 8. And then if you wanted to really just go crazy, you could add the 3. But to me, 4, 5, 6, 8 should cover you through this not-so-easy leg.
Following up on Frank's discussion on a couple of horses he mentioned, number 6, One Fast Bro, you can see has a pattern that I like, which is a slowly improving Beyer speed figure pattern. Each subsequent race is better than the previous one, and also you can take note that breaking from an outside post at Del Mar back on November 26th, the blinkers came off, and since then he's continued to improve. And likewise for number 8, Burning Turf, Frank mentioned how the horse relaxed a little bit better last time out in victory.
It was still a little bit, but it was much better than the start before.
And the blinkers came off in that effort as well. So obviously pay attention to blinker changes, not just for race number 7, but just in general as well. Race number 8, Frank, is by far my favorite race on the card. It's the Grade 2 Santa Monica Stakes. 7 furlongs on the main track for fillies and mares. 3 scratches, 2, 10, and 12 will not compete. Number 10, Pharaoh's Heart, runs in race 2 tomorrow, and race number 8 begins the $1 Golden Hour Pick 4 the last 3 days. The $1 Golden Hour Pick 4 yesterday, Sunday, and last Saturday has paid in excess of $1,000. If you're not playing it, you're making a big mistake. 3 runners in here from the Bob Baffert barn, but the defending champ, number 4, Hard Not to Love, going route to sprint for trainer John Sheriffs, again is the lukewarm 7-2 morning line favorite. Talk to us about race 8.
You're not kidding. This is a tough spot. I went to number 1, Merneath. I thought Merneath ran well last time. I thought she started getting her act together with a resounding victory over Golden Principle back here in October. Went out there to Keeneland and was very game in the center of the track to get up and beat Motivated Seller and company. And then last time out, I thought she ran well, even though she was beaten by a couple of today's rivals. She does have the rail draw, which is no fun for her. But I think that Merneath has always had a touch of class, and maybe she's ready to show it here in this spot. Number 8, Amuse, last time out. I think 7/8 of a mile might be good for Amuse. She has never run at this distance, but it might be right up her alley. She was second last time. She did have a little bit of trouble at the quarter pole. Joel Rosario put on a riding clinic in that race. I think we talked about it the next day. But Joel really did the right thing with Kahira. I think Amuse has the chance to turn the tables on Kahira in this spot. Whenever we talk about the Santa Monica, let's get a little flashback to the late, great Mace Siegel, who was very emotional during one of these runnings many years ago regarding the great Stormy but Valid. I think it was the Santa Monica. It was either that or the La Brea. I want to say Santa Monica. I hope that speech is accurate. But it was some 7-furlong event, and Mace was out on the racetrack making some noise. So you know what? Legacies are made with stories like that, and that's 1990 or so.
30 years ago.
Yeah, that's a lot of years.
Time flies, doesn't it?
I remember it like it was yesterday.
And you mentioned May Siegel, his daughter Samantha Siegel has carried on the legacy of JMS Stable, and congratulations to them on their first foal that was born, I believe, yesterday or this morning, and obviously an exciting time of year for all owners and breeders, and thanks
Live
to
the dream.
Thanks to all the owners and breeders who support this great game that we all love. One other comment on Merneath, who is Frank's top pick. Edwin Maldonado on board. You know that means Send is on the agenda, and Mr. Maldonado has not ridden for Mr. Baffert in the last 12 months or so. Race number 9 begins the $5 Golden Hour Daily Double, and we close out the day going 1 mile on the turf course. Non-winners of 2 other than 3, 4, and 6 will not compete. Leaves us with a field of 8. Scardo taking a drop down from the graded stakes competition. Now runs against allowance optional claiming types. 5-2 on the morning line. Drew outside going a flat mile. Give us a winner to close it out.
I like the number 7 award winner, and this horse had a pretty comfortable, easy lead last time, but he got caught by Bordertown, and I'm not going to hold that against him because Bordertown returned with a purpose that day and ran him down. I thought it was an excellent performance by Bordertown, who came back to be a close third in his next start. He is rounding back into the form that we had hoped for him way back when. It was a rough beat for award winner to go down in that spot, but I think that it was a good enough race to where I'm going to take him seriously and give him some upside potential in this second start off of the visit to Southern California he had been running over on the East Coast. Number 9, Restiani is my second pick. It's a nicely bred son of Frankel, getting Lasix for the first time for trainer John Sadler. This horse just somehow, caught my eye a little bit. I cannot tell you if I watched any of these replays. I certainly wasn't tuned into St. Cloud to watch his victory. But I think this horse is interesting in this spot. Another horse I put a little mark next to, if you're looking for a price, is the 8 Indian Peak. I think he's better than that last race indicates. And remember, that was in the Turf Classic. Like, if you look back to this horse back in Allowance Company, Indian Peak at 15-1. I think Brian Corner is in a position today with 2 long shots that have legitimate chances of pulling off upsets. And I did like Goalie last time when he won. He's taking a step up, it looks like, and but he's honest and will be finishing up with some interest. I don't mind him turning back to a mile, even though he won at 1.25 miles last time out.
7 and 9 to close things out. Frank's top selection, number 7, award winner. Take note of the damn Divine Actress. If you're into pedigree, take a listen to this pedigree. Divine Actress, through Oscar Performance, who's a multiple grade 1 winner, earned $2.3 million, including winning the Woodbine Mile, the Secretariat, and the Belmont Derby, owned by Mr. Ammerman as well. She also, through Oscar nominated, owned by Ken and Sarah Ramsey, who earned $1.5 million in his career as well. So certainly the breeding there is for award winner. A big chance for Abel Cedillo and David Hoffman to perhaps unveil a future star. Frank, thanks so much for your time and insight today. We'll do it all again tomorrow, 11:20 a.m. Pacific time. Thanks to all of you for watching as well. Want to wish you nothing but luck on today's fantastic 9-race card here at the Great Race Place, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we ask that you please rise as we honor America. Here's our national anthem. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Santa Anita Park. The track is fast, the turf is firm, the rail on the turf at 0 feet. Here are today's changes. First race, start of the early pick 5, scratch number 2, premium on Saturday. And scratch number 14, Bellows Music. Jockey change for the 9, Supersonic Flyer to Edwin Maldonado. Edwin Maldonado rides number 9. Number 13 draws in and will run. Second race kicks off the early pick 4. There are no changes. No changes in the third. Fourth race begins the rainbow pick 6.